Hi everyone, it's Kamal here, your trusted real estate advisor. In this video today, we're going to talk about a couple of misconceptions that I come across every so often. First misconception is foreclosure properties, and the second misconception is flipping a property. So I hope you find this information useful. Enjoy. Okay, so let's talk about foreclosures. What is a foreclosure? A foreclosure is a technical term, and it is when a lender, most of the time the bank, when a lender takes possession of a mortgage property because the owners have defaulted on the mortgage. So it's an act when the lender, the bank, is taking over the property from the owners because they've defaulted. That's what a foreclosure is. It's a technical term. Now, foreclosures have become very popular because of shows on HGTV or a bunch of these infomercials late at night telling you how many ways you can make a ton of money with foreclosed properties. Okay, the reality is in Ontario, when the bank takes over a property and decides to put it on the market for sale, they actually have to follow the power of sale rule. That's what we have in Ontario. And the power of sale rule says when the bank puts it on the market, they have to sell that property as close to market value as possible. And for that reason alone, true foreclosures do not exist in Ontario. So here's what a typical power of sale process looks like. I've done a few over the years. Let's say a bank has a foreclosed property, they contact the agent, let's say myself, tell me the details of the property. I go visit the property, I do my comparative market analysis, I put a report together with how much I think that property will sell for. At the same time, the bank has an internal or an external appraiser doing the same exercise. They hand in their report as well. The bank looks at the two reports. If there is a big variance between the two valuations, if there's a big gap between the two valuations, they will oftentimes ask us to justify. Assume there's no gap here. Let's say the pricing are very similar. Then what the bank will do is they'll just send me instructions saying, Kamal, we want you to list it at this price, and then I go ahead and put it on MLS. That's how a power of sale works. Now, you have to understand also with power of sale, it is being sold as is. And for that reason alone, it's a bad idea for most home buyers to buy into power of sale because you don't have the luxury of hiring a home inspector to go through the property. It's not allowed. You're not able to ask the sellers if they've done any major renovations or what kind of updates have they done on the furnace, how they have serviced it. None of that exists in a power of sale. It is sold as is, and it's a bad idea for most home buyers because of that. Okay. Now, one of the misconceptions why foreclosures are very popular in the GTA is because you see agents, local agents here advertising, would you like a list of foreclosed properties? What's happening there is the agent is basically looking for potential buyers that they can get in through the advertisement. So when you contact them, they get the information and they're hoping that they can convert you into a future buyer. Okay, so just understand what's going on with foreclosure. Technically, it exists because the banks do take possessions of properties back. Reality is they don't exist because after that we have to follow the power of sale rule, which dictates it has to go to market at market value. Okay, so just be aware of what's going on when it comes to foreclosures. So let's talk about flipping because that's something else I get asked about quite a lot. Flipping obviously is buying a property cheap enough, putting in some money, whether it's major renovation or minor renovations, and then selling it for a lot higher and making a profit. Okay, in my opinion, flipping is a very dangerous way to invest in real estate because there's a lot of variables that you have to have full control over, and most of the time you really don't have control over those. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to real estate, you really have to be a long-term investor to ride out a lot of the volatilities that come with investing in real estate. Now, one of the biggest thing for opportunities for flipping to exist is you need a market where there's lack of information. That means to say that there's not a lot of information available. When that market exists, there's potential for mispricing, and because of mispricing potential, you may be able to buy a property low enough, cheap enough to do a flip, and that's critical. You have to be able to buy the property cheap enough that you can actually have the opportunity to flip it. Okay. Now, in the Greater Toronto area, in the GTA where I practice, the MLS system we have is actually very efficient. With a click of a few buttons, we can tell you any neighborhood in the GTA how much they are roughly selling for. So we actually have a very efficient system, and because of that, the opportunity for flip really doesn't exist. The second thing when it comes to flipping is you have to have a good handle on your cost structure. How much is going to cost? How much is the flooring, the windows, and all that? Because if you thought you're going to be spending 30,000 in the renovations and now you're 50,000 into it and you're not finished yet, you're in trouble. The last thing about flipping, it is time sensitive. You need to be able to get in and get out quickly, because you are probably, when you bought the property, you are leveraging into it, and every day that you're renovating, every day there's delays because of the renovation is costing you money because of the leverage. Okay, so to come back to this again, for a potential flip to exist, you need a inefficient market where information is lacking. It's not readily available, so you can buy the property cheap enough, and then you have to have a good handle on your cost structure so you don't have cost overrun. And finally, you need to be able to get in and get out quickly so that the leveraging is not costing you money. You have to understand whether you're buying or selling, as real estate agents, we're transaction based. Once the transaction is done, we've made our commission, we're out of the picture. You, on the other hand, might be left holding on to a lemon. So you have to be careful who you trust.